Okay, well, hello everyone. I hope everybody can hear me online here. I'd like to welcome everybody. Just trying to give everybody just a moment to get dialed in there. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I am Sean Wagner. I am the Director of Archiving and Electronic Discovery with Terramark North America, located in Miami, Florida. Tonight we're going to be discussing the impact of cloud computing on electronic discovery. Obviously, cloud computing is a hot topic these days, and so is electronic discovery, and it gets kind of interesting as the two realms mix and come together. So what I want to do is I'm going to go through some slides, share some information with everybody, but I'd also like to try to ask that it remain somewhat interactive. I know not everybody can ask a question verbally, but there is a Q&A session through the online WebEx Center here. So I will try to answer questions as they come up and keep it fairly interactive. So very quickly, just a little bit about Terramark. Terramark is a global provider of cloud computing and data center services. We are located in Miami, Florida, and have been operating cloud computing services for a number of years. So, what is on the agenda for the presentation here? So, first we're going to talk about very briefly, what electronic discovery is, just as a very brief introduction, and we're also going to discuss a couple of ground rules around how we interpret cloud computing and what is the cloud. I know everybody has a definition, and it is a very, very overutilized term in the industry and the media today. So before we get into the rest of the session, I am going to try to take a couple of moments and just kind of lay down how we perceive that cloud. And then, very specifically with the cloud computing, what does this mean for electronic discovery? How do we do electronic discovery in the cloud? What is it subject to? What is it not subject to? And as companies move lots and lots of their data, such as email and other types of data, up there to these systems and these platforms, who is responsible for that? How do we find information that's out there? How is the data preserved? And most importantly, we're going to talk very specifically at the end, as you're talking to a service provider or a cloud computing provider, what should they be providing you? What questions should you be asking them specifically about types of contracts? What should be in your contracts and your SLAs? All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So what is electronic discovery? Electronic discovery, or e-discovery as it's commonly referred to, refers to discovery in a civil litigation which deals with information in electronic form. However, it's not just isolated to civil litigation. Public sector entities such as cities and counties, states, federal agencies have to answer to Freedom of Information or FOIA type requests, information that has to be made available. So to break away from just civil litigation, electronic discovery really has to do with the finding of information that is stored in electronic format, or ESI, electronically stored information. So electronic discovery, specific to the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, were helped defined with the amendments back in 2006. I'm sure everybody's probably very familiar with those by now. But very specifically, what is electronic data? That really is anything to do from email, which is the most common type of information that is discovered or requested or to be produced in a request or in civil litigation. But it also has to do with instant messaging, Microsoft Office type files, or any other type of Office files, PDFs, electronic faxes, databases, engineering files, web data, or basically anything that is stored in electronic format could be subject to a discovery request as part of either a FOIA request or a lawsuit. Okay, so we've defined electronic discovery, but let's talk very specifically to litigation, because that's where things get very expensive and pertains to most organization businesses out there. So litigation costs come in quite a few different places. But as we get into collecting electronic information as part of this e-discovery process,